So we're starting?
Yep, ready to start.
So we need a motion.
Yeah.
That would be me. Move to open the executive session to, well, first recognizing that all members of the select board are here. It's 6:30. Move to open the executive session to consider the value of real property if the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of a public body. We will discuss the terms of a potential memorandum of agreement between the select board and Deaconess Abundant Life regarding a proposed warrant article for the continuing care retirement community overlay district before town meeting this year, to resume open session at 7 p.m.
Second.
All in favor? Oh, no, you need a roll.
Roll call,
Yep.
Ms. Ackerman,
Aye.
Ms. Hardman.
Aye.
Mr. McKenna.
Aye.
Myself, I'm an aye. Mr. Velli.
Aye. Okay.
Okay, it is 7:10, and I am calling the May 19th, 2025 Select Board meeting to order. As usual, we begin with public comment. Public comment is an opportunity for the public to address us on matters before the Select Board, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Do I have any public comments? Seeing none? Good.
Okay. Move to approve the consent agenda, which includes meeting minutes, town manager warrants, gift acceptances, with thanks for the Doug White Memorial Recreation Fund, gift to the Town 250 Fund in the amount of $1,200, and the Friends of Sleepy Hollow purchase of stone pavers for the garden bench in the amount of $1,700.
I'd
There's a
like to
proclamation.
Oh, do you want to read it?
I would be happy to pull it up. And dissolving the task force, one-day liquor licenses and committee nominations. Do you want to move?
I would
that?
like to pull off the nominees to the planning board for discussion.
And I just want to make sure everybody saw, because there was some updates to the meeting minutes that literally just went out.
And I can speak to them if we need to. It's pertaining to the
There was
The
one
high
for
school vote?
school, there was
Yeah,
one
the
for school
schools.
vote, and then I had a couple on the May 5th.
So
So I just didn't know
Let's
if
pull them
everybody
off
saw.
and discuss it.
I didn't see them.
All right, so
Yeah.
let's pull it off.
Yeah.
which ones were
It was
those, please?
April 14th
April 14th?
and May 5th.
Okay.
So all
So,
the other ones were fine, there were some updates.
Wait, what are they again? May 5th?
May 5th and April 14th, the
Right.
last two.
Got it.
so, and just for the record, we're approving some rather old
Right.
meeting minutes that we discovered some gaps in our posting records. Most of these are site visits and things of that nature that didn't involve deliberations, but they're all in the packet if anybody wants to look at them. And so we'll proceed without April 14th and May 5th. And
And the planning board nominees.
Of the planning board.
without the planning board
Nominees.
nominees.
Right.
Okay, second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are you going to read the proclamation, Mark? You don't have to.
Yeah, let's, I promise I'll read it sometime. I've read it before.
May
I just,
27th.
it's way down the list and I don't have it right in front of me. So apologies to the hard workers of the Public Works Department who are waiting on every word of that.
Okay, so the reason I pulled off the planning board nominees is because I'd like to make some comments about the planning board. 2 years ago, the planning board's activities were completely focused on the MBTA Communities Act. And then this year, I understand that the planning board has a lot of regulatory or statutory work in front of them, and they've got to look at applications, but I'm hoping that we have a more proactive planning board. I'd like to get people on the board that are not just doing the statutory, but also looking at policies. We've got parking issues, we've got zoning issues. And I'm hoping that these people have that proactive approach.
So I don't know everything about their history. I know Alan has been on the Historic Commission, and maybe Cameron knows more about his participation. He is an electrician and very familiar with rules, regulations, working with boards, et cetera, town boards. Greg Dorothy owns a construction company, similar sort of background in terms of working with towns and getting through zoning and issues. So both very fluent in the type of work and language that they're going to have to be dealing with. And Greg, I've been impressed with his communication style, very following up and proactive. So I'd like to think they will. I think, it also comes down to leadership on the
Yes.
planning board. I don't know who the
So-
next chair will be, but I think,
I agree.
That's
The fact
also-
that I didn't know Greg Dorothy had construction company experience,
Yeah.
to me, that's a big plus.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Alan did mention to me, I just was able
Yeah.
to catch up with him.
Yep.
He's done a lot of work for Lexington.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think he's
So he
familiar
works.
with a lot of the things that they're doing.
Yep.
So.
yeah, I
What-
did
Doing
speak
as
with-
far as what?
As far as he
He works in Lexington
Yeah.
as an electrician.
Yeah,
He's
but-
licensed,
yeah,
he
but-
does.
but how does that
familiar
help?
with a lot of the codes, a lot of the things that they're looking to develop and
Right.
how that sort of
Wh-
transpires.
Have you seen him in action on the Historic Commission?
Yes.
Yeah. So would you say he's
Yeah.
forward-thinking and raises good issues and vocal and,
Been really great to work with.
I don't watch that commission, yeah. Well, that's good.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
again- yeah.
I just need to repeat what I was saying. I would really like to have a proactive planning board, so I'm hoping that we've chosen the right people. Do anybody have any other comments?
But not about the planning board.
Okay, great.
Representative.
Okay. So, ready to
Do
nominate?
you want, okay.
Move to nominate Alan Bogosian of 1624 Main Street to the planning board for a term to expire May 31st, 2030, and Greg Dorothy of 188 Border Road to the planning board for a term to expire May 31, 2030.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good. Okay, the next thing
It's my
is,
son's 28.
what is
What?
this corrective appointment for Mary Hartman? I should know this. I should know what this means.
You're being
So
corrected.
it looks like a expiration date correction.
Okay, well, this information is right. My only question is, I don't know why it's corrective, but I am being appointed to a second year.
Yeah.
That would be the second year of my first term. So,
Well, maybe, oh, that's interesting. I don't know.
what?
Maybe it's something to do with the town clerk's records
Yeah, I
only?
don't
But it clearly looks like something specific to the Affordable Housing Trust, right?
Yeah, oh,
I
it's
mean,
definitely your
absolutely,
participation,
absolutely.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
But, okay. Maybe I'm making a big deal
Sometimes when
about
you
nothing.
replace someone, your current term doesn't count towards your two-year, three-year.
But I'm not replacing anybody.
I know. No, but when you first joined last year, was it,
No, the only reason I joined last year was because I was the select board appointee.
yes, I
Because
don't get it.
Linda
Yeah,
had,
Linda left, right?
Linda
So-
left.
Well, when
This is
when I
weird.
became the HFAC rep, we had to correct the date also. It was
Yes.
kind of a clerical error.
Yeah.
So,
okay,
Yeah, it
And
doesn't, it's okay, it's
I'm afraid I'm
not,
not familiar with the exact nature of the previous
Right.
error, but we could wait on this and put it on next week.
No, let me
I'm
just
fine,
read
I
to
trust,
correct the first term to expire a year from now. It will be the first year of a full two-year term, and that's correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm okay with it.
yeah,
Okay.
okay.
So move to make a corrective appointment for Mary Hartman as the select board member of the Concord Municipal Affordable Housing Trust to correct the first term to expire May 31, 2026.
Second,
May 1.
May 1. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Move to reappoint Brad Hubbard Nelson of 221 Nishotic Road. It's been a long day.
Really?
To the Climate Action Committee for a term to expire May 31 of 2028.
Second.
Is this his final
Second.
term?
yes.
Okay. You have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Very good, okay. The last thing on our agenda is to try to fill in more seats on the land use working
So can we
group.
go back to, are we gonna talk about the minutes issues?
Oh, sure.
Oh, do we want to now? I thought we
You
were.
want to just,
I don't have a problem, I just wanna
Okay,
clarify, I
just
think
wanna
there's
make-
questions,
So the
Cameron just has
updated
questions.
minutes were sent back out. I just saw it literally from Shannon, I
Okay.
think, like at 5 o'clock
Okay.
or something.
Okay.
Okay,
So they are updated, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think they.
what were
do the
the
next week.
changes?
Yeah, okay, so, on the May 5th minutes.
Yep.
I asked for a little bit more on the articles where there were not unanimous votes. Because in the minutes, the first draft just said, we voted 4-1, we voted 3-1.
Oh,
And I
okay.
just said, there was a couple of things that in the discussion,
Yep,
just,
Okay.
hey, what was the discussion? And-
Got it.
And,
Right.
okay.
and why?
you know,
Okay.
So you
who
wanted,
voted against.
okay.
So just a little bit more of just like, hey,
Yep.
here's what was talked about, and then here was the
Okay.
vote.
Okay,
For
Okay.
April 14th, I was a little bit confused on the write-up
Okay.
around the school committee.
Yep.
Where it said was voted to transfer, remember the transferring of the excess funds,
Excess and deficiency
the
funds.
O and
Yep.
D funds
Yep.
into OPEB and capital stabilization.
Yes,
I was confused, and I think I still am a
No,
little confused,
yeah,
because it says, and which increases the FY '25.
And
budget.
they concurrently voted to increase their own FY '25 budget, which, under the state regulations, they can do. But they need to send that request to their appointing authority, which is the town. This is a regional authority. So when they do that, they have to send it to the appointing authority. They have 7 days to do the notification. The appointing third authority has to take action within 45 days. They sent that notice to Kerry. Kerry received it. We talked about it in
Yeah,
the
no, I
next
know we
meeting,
talked
right?
about
it.
Right, and we took no action. And so as a result of no action, the budget was approved.
Right.
but they did increase their budget.
They did increase their
They
budget.
increased their budget.
They did.
That was
Yes.
the part that I was a little.
Yes.
Yes,
tripped up on.
and I have the regulation, I can give it to you.
No, no, I just,
Yeah.
I didn't, I was trying to
It's
follow
strange.
by just moving that money, it somehow increased.
So
their
the
budget.
reason it would have increased the budget is because they were making a contribution to their OPEB payments. They need to
Expenses.
appropriate that money to OPEB. So they're taking in 200,000 and then spending it by putting it in their OPEB trust fund.
Yeah.
So as a practical matter, the operating costs of the school remain unchanged. They're just making an
They-
OPEB
Got
contribution,
it.
which
Right.
reduces their
Okay.
future
And
liability.
then by putting it into capital stabilization, they're also increasing.
They're expensive,
budget.
right.
Yeah, but they're not spending on anything new, but they are
Got it.
accessing some
Got it.
additional
And the
resources.
decision on potential town meeting action that it referenced.
So that was-
us taking no action.
Yes, right, as it turns out, if you recall, we didn't have time. We would have to take action within 45 days, and town meeting was
Got
outside of 45 days.
So I don't think actually
So-
the notes changed a whole lot.
They didn't, no, it was just clarifying it,
It
yeah.
was just
yeah,
clarifying.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'd like to read them.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
We can approve them next week,
Yep.
okay?
Great.
Yeah, that
As-
sounds
As
good.
an update on that, while we're on that.
Yeah, I have
E&D,
another update on it, too.
Yeah, that.
So they revoted
Yeah.
the 400,000, so, and it's in the liaison report. So instead of 200 to OPEB and 200 to
Capital stabilization.
capital stabilization, they voted 50,000 to support mental health and counseling support. Makes a lot of sense. And 350,000 to capital stabilization.
And
So they,
then,
and nothing to OPEB. So they sort of took that vote back and revoted it again, but with a different allocation.
and
And I think
there's
you
an
have
update.
another,
We have another
another
update.
notice period.
Well, that's what I was,
I
yeah,
think you
There's a
do,
notice
yeah,
period, yeah.
It's
I
not-
think so.
and I actually
Well,
have the
plus
memo.
there's also another update to that allocation, because
Oh,
apparently they
haven't
got
voted.
some private money for the mental health
Well, but,
portion.
no, yeah, well, and what I didn't clarify is that in their vote that they took during the meeting, they said, and to the degree they do not fully expend the $50,000, it
Yes,
will go to the
Capital
capital
stabilization.
stabilization fund. I think that, yeah,
Wow,
Okay.
yeah.
wow.
So
Yes.
they have plenty of money for the amenities building with that in mind.
They do,
Yeah.
okay.
To help it. if it-
Yeah, and,
Yep.
and,
If it comes to that.
and reverting back to the prior not funding the OPEB contribution
right.
for this fiscal year.
But keep in mind, they're 60% funded, so they're actually pretty good because they had a great
Understand.
revenue. I know, I get it.
Okay, we ready? Good. So I will read those minutes and we'll put it on the May 27th agenda. So we do have something on the agenda.
Look forward to that.
We have more things.
And you have appointments too.
Okay, so the last thing on our agenda is to discuss and vote on an at-large member, if we can, and a select board nominee to the Land Use Working Group. Let's start with the select board nominee. As you know, I have nominated myself to that. Megan and I have been working on this for several months now, I think. And I wrote the charge, you approved the charge, and I think I have the experience based on my FinCom and my select board experience. I'm interested in doing the work. I'm excited about the work, so I would like to be considered for nomination. And I believe you.
Yeah, well, I mean, and so I think I would also put my hat in the ring just to be considered by the rest of the select board. You know, obviously, I think this is an area of high interest for all of us, right? So I think we're all very interested in the land use. You know, for me, it's been kind of this whole concept around integrated planning and integrated design has been something that I've been doing a lot of in my sort of career, and especially in the last few years at National Grid. So I just have a lot of familiarity with working across like multiple different groups, multiple different projects, you know, making sure that we're identifying the right goals, the right constraints, the right interdependencies, you know, thinking about how we're going to do some of that scenario planning. And, you know, I know that specifically we've got some tasks at hand around the police and the fire and the public works in those locations. And then I think also just kind of looking across all the sites and looking across sort of all the goals and interdependencies related to that. So it's just also an area of interest for me, and I think something that, you know, like I said, I've done a lot of and feel like I could sort of help, you know, across all those things, as I'm sure you would too, Mary. So I'm not, but I think it's just also, for me, the town meeting study committee is kind of coming to an end, right? So I just kind of thinking about the balance around the committees.
Well, I'm not going to throw my name in the hat, just for the record. Although I hope whoever's on it is going to give us regular routine updates, because I think we're all eager to understand what's happening with it, so.
It's certainly gonna be a high interest and high focus area for the next year as we really dig into the opportunities. I think you got a sense of it at the housing forum, and for anybody that's interested in a little bit more detail, including some very preliminary massing ideas about what those scenarios that were presented by agency this evening represent. I encourage you to watch the recording of the MCI Advisory Board from earlier today, because they did flash a couple of those ideas up there. It's very challenging to pick out uses. I think that the optimization task and the sequencing tasks that are associated with this are really not to be underestimated.
And the funding,
Yes.
And, you know, I think this is one of those jobs that is going to require a ton of extra time
Yeah.
in the future year to be done right. That's my concern. Take it from somebody who's already sitting on 2 task forces.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lift.
So to that point, and again, I mean, because something that you mentioned, I think before when we briefly talked about it. I mean, we're coming up to the cusp of sort of a new post-town meeting select board, like, okay,
Yeah.
revisiting all the committees.
Right.
yeah, the
Just saying
liaison.
it's another option. I mean, it's another option
The
to say
liaison
as part
assignments?
of, I'm saying as part of that, to look at sort of all the committees we have and
Right.
Oh, yeah.
what's the right sort of balance and
Yeah.
and all that stuff. So I mean, that's also another, I mean, we can decide tonight, or, I mean,
I'd kind of like to get some of these nailed down, because I would really like to get this off the ground after, right after town meeting. We've already delayed it a lot. I'd like to move ahead.
Well, and we are going to reassign liaison assignments, right? So there'll be a lot of
Yeah.
opportunity to change. So I'm assuming that we're going to do that.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later on the
Are you
agenda.
suggesting that we wait until we have the
I'm-
liaison
No, no, no.
assignment?
Throwing it out
Oh,
there.
okay.
Yeah,
I'm just-
okay.
I'm not.
Well, that's what I mean.
I
Is that what
we
you're,
can decide tonight, or people can say, hey, listen, it actually would be better if we
So-
take all of the committee assignments into account and say, okay,
well, I
give
think
them
we could
balance.
do it tonight and then also include that in our allocation of the
Yep, that's
liaison.
fine.
Yeah.
Which, and doing that takes a little bit of time,
Yep,
the liaison assignments, because
yeah, that's true.
our
Have it.
process is we look
Yep.
at our preferences and available, anyway. So that again, I'm worried about that slowing it down.
So I'll just say, Mary, you've been on the select board, between you and Cameron, you've been on the board for a long time. You've got a lot of sort of intimate knowledge of some of the key issues that we've been working on. That's not to say that, like Cameron and I don't from being here for a year, but I think you probably bring more to the table in terms of the issues that are there. You have led the initiative, so I certainly would support your nomination, and there's MCI as an opportunity, Cameron too. So I think, I don't know, so I would support your nomination for the select board representative,
Thank you.
as long as you keep reporting back.
I heard that. So I think we have a second. Are we ready for a vote or more discussion?
I'm also inclined to support you for this role, Mary. I think that this is a group that's going to require some leadership and focus. And I just also wanted to take a minute to call everybody's attention, in case you didn't see it, because I asked Shannon to distribute it this afternoon. I have tried to lay out a few of the
Yeah, I got it.
items, the agenda items that we'll need to address as we
Yes. Oh, yes.
get into the scheduling.
I saw that.
So
Oh, yeah,
that-
yeah.
specifically, I was thinking that the liaison discussion, which Cameron just mentioned, would
Right.
be, front and center at our June 30th meeting. I'll just say this out loud for a lot of people who may not be aware. Town meeting is expected to end, we hope, by June 7th or 8th, and then we'll be going. We have a couple of members, Mary and Wendy, who are traveling to represent the community at our sister city in Nanai, and will be out of the country. So that means that, assuming Paul would be seated, but we have a period of about almost 2 weeks there where there would only be 3 of us in the country, and so we might have difficulty with a quorum in middle of June. So I had thought that should we need to, or we might just only try to entertain strictly administrative things on the 16th. So traditionally, we do our leaders at the first meeting after town meeting, but it seemed to me that the community deserves a full board
Okay.
for that change. So we would schedule that change at June 30th. And then it looked to me as though we could meet every other week for the remainder of the year. So it's a strict 2-week schedule. Manages to conveniently skip over holidays like the 4th of July and Labor Day, and land on the off weeks and that. And the only time it starts to break down a little bit is there are 5 Mondays in December.
Yeah.
December 1st, 16th and 29th, which is an awkward time to meet because it's between the 2 holidays. So an alternative schedule for December could be to skip an extra week. The first is the Monday immediately after Thanksgiving weekend. So skip that Monday and go to the 8th and the 22nd, which would give us 2 meetings in December. So I've asked staff to take a look at this calendar. I'm asking you to, as well as weigh in on what agenda items might be appropriate. I, just by way of discussion, I tried to incorporate here my understanding of what we had talked about the town manager evaluation schedule and the goal setting, which are the important items for getting out of the blocks, especially given how sort of late town meeting is and everything. We kind of need to do some of this work pretty quickly coming up in June and July.
I've got 2 comments on this. Thank you for putting this together. I'm going to announce at the chair's breakfast that the select board will be developing our goals, and asking the boards there to give us any input into the, what they think our goals should be, and also holding off making their goals
Yeah.
until we
Oh, good.
finalize
Yeah,
ours.
good.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think this timing might work out really well. The other thing, though, I wanted to talk about is, we talked about APP 10, and we can either do that on the 27th,
Right.
I'm jamming up the 27th, or it should be somewhere here.
Yeah.
So my only comment on this, and I don't know if this was our intention here, there's a lot going on the 30th. I mean, it looks huge. So if maybe on the 27th, we can get some prep stuff going, like deciding how we're going to do the town manager evaluation, like who's going to do it, what's the format, and then submit liaison stuff and start thinking about goals. We should
Yeah.
get as much of that stuff done as we can, just thinking.
Just to the topic
Yep.
that I was on, that we were on here, which is deciding an assignment. This schedule would propose that we would finalize liaison assignments at the second meeting, the second full meeting, which is July 14th. And
Okay.
at that time, we would also be adopting our FY '26 goals. And frankly, I think that, it's not a typo. Begin discussing the 27 priorities, because that's when the finance committee issues
Yep.
their memo, and the 27 budget
Very good.
building is starting, and so we need to actually think a little bit ahead. And, hopefully that's one of the opportunities for the summer meetings, which, after town meeting tend to have a little bit of space in them.
Yeah, and some of our goals, and I think this happens with Carrie's also, some of the goals are multi-year.
Yes.
And we have to be mindful of that, and
Yes,
just,
I-
you know what,
I agree.
because
Yeah, I
everything
think when
takes a
we're
long time to get done,
Looking at our 25 goals might help inform our
Yes.
26 goals.
right?
And I apologize, I should have put some grid lines in this, because it's hard to read.
I drew my
I
own.
know.
Can I just ask a question? What's AB recommendations? I'm like missing.
Advisory
Advisory board, sorry.
Board, okay.
Yeah.
So, Mark, do you
Okay.
want to do you want APP 10 on May 27th's agenda, or do you want to put it on one of these when?
So I think, Kim, you're leading that,
Yep.
so.
Yes.
Doesn't
Back to you.
realize it's a short weekend or a long
Yeah.
weekend.
I mean, we can talk about it again next week. I don't know if we'll get it finalized.
Do you have a revision that incorporates some of the comments we made last time we
Somewhat.
discussed it?
Just red line.
I mean, I couldn't present it like today, but.
No, but could you next Tuesday
Yeah.
do
I mean,
that?
we can
Okay,
get both.
good, we'll take another swing at it.
All right.
Okay, good. So.
We were in
are
a
you okay
motion.
with this, Mark?
Yes.
Did you get what you wanted?
Yeah, I did.
Good.
I mainly wanted to introduce it and along with the concept of propose what, if there's something missing from this. Obviously, it's a working document.
Right.
Okay, and of course, if some of these dates don't work for, I think, well, Shannon pointed out, I believe that the 15th of December is, I think, the first night of Hanukkah, so that might,
Oh, yeah, so that, can't-
that might argue for the December
Right.
8th, December 22nd
I think we
solution.
should just do that.
Okay. So
Oh.
that was the feedback I was looking for.
Okay, so we have a motion on the
Right, we
table.
did.
Yes.
And Wendy seconded it. I asked if we had any more discussion, and we started talking about the calendar. So do we have any more discussion about the motion? I'm ready for a vote. Are we?
Yeah.
Okay. You're the,
Do you want to do a
All
roll
in
call,
favor?
or
All in
you?
favor? Aye.
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 Yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
I'll abstain. I'm not gonna
Okay.
vote against you, Mary, but I put myself up.
But
on
you
that.
did.
Well, I'm gonna abstain. I'm not gonna vote against you. I'm gonna abstain.
Oh, Mark?
Sure.
Oh, sorry.
You have to come up, Mark.
Oh, and then make sure the mic's on.
Hello, can you hear me?
It never amplifies, just.
Okay, just talk loud. Okay, so, Tanya is watching online, and she pointed out something. I was drifting off just a little bit, but she was saying that if all members of the select board are going to send something about, APP 10 or whatever it is, to one person, that has to be a staff member who compiles them anonymously. Otherwise, it's communication among a quorum of the select board. And the second one is if Mark sends something to everybody, a document, then it should be posted for the public too. Thanks.
Yeah, I asked,
Unless it's a third-party document.
Got it.
Thanks.
yeah,
Yep.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, back to this, the at-large member for the Land Use Working Group. I think at the end of the day, we got our membership so that we only have one at-large member. I think we've got 5 cards. We had one from Jennifer Braceras. I hope I said.
Well, I thought I only had 4.
Todd Benjamin, Susan Myers, Terry, I'm missing one,
Right, I remember 4, I didn't have 5.
and it's only
I
4.
had Jennifer, Terry, Todd, and Susan Myers.
Okay, now, I think the last time we spoke about this, we were going to go and talk to people, and some of us wanted to interview people, and so, have we done that?
Well, I said I didn't need to interview anyone, but can we just be clear, was there a 5th person?
No, I was wrong.
Okay, just want to make sure.
also,
Or I forgot who it was.
Okay, that's okay.
I did, Jennifer Braceras' card reads the
She's-
planning board, DEI.
DEI,
commission.
MCI, and
Well,
recreation.
I did try to connect with Jennifer a
Yeah.
few times, and she's a very busy woman. And based on our back and forth emailing and missing opportunities to sit down for coffee, we agreed that DEI would probably be the best thing for her to
Right.
go for.
Oh, okay.
I was going to say that I'm following up with her for that.
Excellent.
But
Excellent.
I have not been able to actually connect with her yet, but I did talk to the rest of the people.
She also
So-
has no town committee experience at all,
Right.
so.
So if I may, I just wanted to take 1 or 2 minutes to explain why I think I'm the best candidate for the at-large member.
Okay.
So I know there's been some concern about getting new people on our committees, and I agree. I think that's been great. And the Land Use Working Group does have some nominees who are relatively new to our town committees. But I think that we also need people who are experienced. We need a balance, and I have the Select Board, FinCom, CPC experience, and I can hit the ground running. And that brings up another concern that Mary stated a few minutes ago. The working group needs to get moving really quickly. I'm familiar with the parcels, the potential domino effects, and the important documents like Envision Concord, housing production plan, et cetera. So I'd be ready to start on day 1. And I think that the at-large member needs to be open-minded and not be an advocate for any one particular use and represent the town as a whole, which I think I couldn't do. If I'm an advocate for anything, it will be for the municipal uses. As you know, our phase 1 in the working group calls for, quote, developing recommendations for the location of new municipal facilities, parentheses, public works, police, and fire. So if you don't know me that well, I had 25 years working as a town administrator and budget officer, and I have broad experience looking across many uses and detailed knowledge of public works, public safety. I even drove a Bobcat, which was kind of a joke, but at least I did do that. And I analyzed the response times of emergency vehicles. I know how location is really important for that. So for all of these reasons, I hope you'll vote for me for the at-large member. Thanks.
Thank you, Terry.
Well, thank you for that background. And, the familiarity with our Envision 2030 and some of those documents you mentioned are really important. And getting up and getting started right away is actually also really important. So when I looked at the other representative, and I didn't speak with Todd Benjamin.
Have you?
Did you speak? Oh, can you just speak to your experience talking to him?
He certainly has a wide-ranging background in real estate,
Yeah.
and that struck me as being potentially useful in this
Yeah.
because it seemed, if we think about the idea that there's some kind of development of a municipal campus, as one of the requirements, understanding what the potentials for the sites and their attractiveness and the value to the community. Because thinking down the road, I think we also saw in those scenarios for MCI, that if the community takes part of that property, it's going to cost us something in terms of the attractiveness and the upfront expenses that are related to that. And again, I'd refer you to the meeting today for more context on that. But that, what's not included in the MCI planning thus far is what potential offsets there are if some other properties that the town has become available and can be made available either to the commercial. The thumbnail here is that commercial property, especially campus-oriented or, larger scale, meaning not retail, commercial property, is a long, slow sell cycle. It may turn out to be net positive for the town's coffers over time, but it's going to take a long time to realize that. On the other hand, residentials, especially high-density residentials, could potentially be a net negative, meaning, new school buildings and things like that, but they're attractive to the market, and if you're looking for money from a piece of property today, make it available to the residential market, and it'll move. So
So did you
managing
find
that,
Todd valuable?
it seemed to me that he had a background that would be, familiar with that. I also talked to Sue Myers,
Yeah.
and she has extensive town committee experience, included with some of the boards that we're working on. So, I would say that I ended all these conversations expressing appreciation for the level of volunteerism and community commitment that we have in this town. And so it's this is a tough choice for me because, I talk to these people and I want to put them all on my committee.
Yeah.
And yet we also run the risk of it's already 9 and, going to 11 or something like that is tough. It makes quorums tough. It makes getting anywhere, doing site visits, as you were mentioning earlier, Mary, difficult to do because scheduling becomes a real problem because people have busy lives here.
Well, I think we agreed to keep it at 9, right?
We did.
Yeah.
So Cameron, do you have any interest in interviewing some of these people or just having a phone call with
Yeah,
them?
I mean, I've
so
talked to
that you-
Jennifer, I know, that I know
Right,
Jennifer, I've
right.
talked to Terry, I have not talked, I've seen Todd and Susan's background, but
Right.
have not
Do you want to,
talked.
do you mind?
Happy to.
Happy- And who did you talk to?
Well, I talked to Susan because she had applied to the
She was on the
planning board.
planning
So I know her back from
Right,
that
right,
perspective
right,
and had
okay.
made references to this committee as well as other, like the Transportation Committee and others. But I didn't actually know that she was on town committee boards. I know she'd volunteered
She
on
was on the
schools
affordable
and.
housing.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the same one as Todd Benjamin,
Way
right?
long time
Yeah,
ago.
yeah.
When I was on the
Yep.
finance committee.
Yep. Yeah,
So
no,
I
she's-
saw her in action. You didn't speak with Todd.
I did not speak with Todd. I didn't know his background. I mean, I know he was on his housing background in
And you've
finance.
talked with everybody, right? You've talked with everybody about this
No,
individually?
no, I did not talk to the other candidates.
No, I mean the select board members. So if I'm trying to get a broad interview, then you've
Oh.
talked to
Well-
other board members about this.
A little bit. I've
Yeah,
talked
okay.
to Wendy for a while, I've
Yeah.
talked to you for a while. I could talk
I
with
mean,
Mark and
yeah.
Cam a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we need more information, and I would like to talk with Sue and Todd myself, because I haven't
Okay.
talked to them about this.
Yeah.
I say hi to them in the grocery store. So, let's put this off and
Yeah,
get some more.
do you want to talk, do you want me to also?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah,
all right.
I would
mean, just
like
think
your
we should-
opinion.
Whatever we do, let's,
Yeah.
I'd like you to bring back what you think. and,
Yeah.
uh,
I think ideally, this is the kind of decision that I'd appreciate consensus on the board.
Yeah,
around,
sure.
you know.
Well, I'm not agreeing to that.
Yeah, okay.
And, you know, I just think it's
I said I
important to.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
That doesn't mean I get it.
Okay, yeah.
and,
Yeah,
and
I know we didn't
yeah.
want, I mean, because the only other option is you go back and revisit going from 9 back to
Yeah,
11.
no,
And you take off.
Yeah,
I hear
let's not
that's-
open that up again, because then we've got boards that want, and I'd
That's
feel like I'd be.
okay.
That's fine. We'll
So
stay
I have two, we have two people who want to make,
Oh.
Ellen, I think you had your hand up first. Do you want to go ahead? Ellen?
Yeah, I would just say, I got what you said about having only 9 people, and I forget what the characteristics of the people that you want on the board. But I would just say, if you look at Envision 2030, that one of the really glaring omissions in, at least if I got this right, of the members of this board is anybody from natural resources. You know, open space and community recreation is such a core value for our town. And I get that you don't want to add more people, and I get about the quorum and all that, but I would say that it would be sad if natural resources and open space was not included in this land use planning committee.
Thank you, Ellen.
So I guess the other thing, I'll just comment, I know that Phil Griffith will represent some of the interests. He's got a very amazing background,
I
too.
know.
He's got a lot.
He
So
has a lot of open space.
So, yeah, and when
background.
we look at these candidates, I look at sort of what's their background and what do they bring to the table. So that's part of how I look
Yeah,
at this, so.
so that's, thank you. So Ellen, I think the NRC is going to discuss this, and one of the options that's available to them is to have a liaison come to the committee, which I've seen that used very effectively. These are non-voting, but they still have a voice. They still get heard at the meeting, so
Okay.
it's a wave. And also.
That would be great.
And also
Yeah,
Wendy
thank you.
brings up a really good point, which is Phil Griffiths has a great, he's the rec commissioner, but he's also has a lot of background in open space preservation, so he knows what he's talking about there as well.
Yeah.
So Tanya,
thank
so thank you, Ellen. Tanya, do you want to make a comment? Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Quickly, to just follow up on Ellen's and the discussion, it's open space is not necessarily the same as ecological, natural preservation and natural resources. So I'm glad that you're at least looking forward to collaboration with the Natural Resources Commission and their interests. I was otherwise also going to suggest that you could perhaps put on another call and see if the applicants or other applicants are interested in contributing some more knowledge of ecology, which is different than planning open space and recreation. This is more about the ecosystem that we are in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Okay.
any other business?
No.
Ready to adjourn?
Ready, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Very good.